It was supposed to be just another congressional hearing, a room full of suits, cameras quietly rolling, politicians reading their scripts. But then, she walked in. Jasmine Crockett didn't come to play. Her eyes locked onto one man in particular, Donald J. Trump, sitting smugly, flanked by his legal team, surrounded by guards. The air shifted. The gallery grew silent. Everyone could feel it. Something was about to go down. For a few moments, Trump tried to stay cool. He leaned back, whispered to his lawyer, and smirked. He thought it would be business as usual. But Crockett wasn't having it. She stood, looked him dead in the eye, raised her voice above the silence, and said the words that would instantly trend across the internet. "You're done!" The words echoed. People gasped. Even security froze. Trump's face turned from smug to stunned. And just like that, everything changed. This wasn't politics anymore. This was a confrontation, a reckoning, a message broadcast live to millions that the old rules no longer applied. In this video, we're breaking down that explosive moment, frame by frame. We'll show you what Jasmine Crockett really said, how Trump reacted, and why this may go down as the most savage takedown in political history. Jasmine Crockett isn't your typical congresswoman. She's bold, unfiltered, and doesn't back down, especially when she smells injustice. Over the past year, she's gained a loyal following for doing what most politicians don't, telling the truth, no matter who's listening. And on this day, the truth came crashing through the doors of Congress like a thunderstorm. Tensions had been building for weeks. Trump had been showing up to hearings, giving interviews, throwing jabs at opponents. His presence in the room felt like a power play until Crockett walked in. She wasn't there to shake hands or exchange fake smiles. She came to confront, armed with facts, fueled by frustration, backed by millions who were tired of silence. And when she said those three words, "You're done," it wasn't just personal. It was political. It was generational. In that instant, a new kind of leadership emerged, one that doesn't fold under pressure, one that fights back. The media went wild. Twitter exploded. News anchors stammered. And Trump, he looked like a man who finally realized he was no longer untouchable. Today, we take you through every second of that confrontation. What led up to it? What was said off camera? And what happened after the microphones were turned off? You'll hear the full exchange. You'll see the real reactions. And most importantly, you'll understand why this moment matters. Because sometimes one voice can shake an entire system. The cameras were already rolling. C-SPAN, CNN, Fox News. Every network had their eyes locked on what was supposed to be a routine oversight hearing. On one side of the long mahogany table sat members of Congress, suits, ties, and rehearsed monologues. On the other side, seated like a king at the head of the table, was Donald J. Trump. He wasn't technically supposed to be there. He wasn't subpoenaed. He wasn't under oath. But Trump being Trump, he made an appearance, confident, theatrical, and ready to control the narrative. He smiled. He whispered. He stared down his political enemies like a man who'd seen this movie before. Then, the door opened. Jasmine Crockett entered, not with cameras in her face, but with fire in her step. She was calm, collected, controlled, but beneath that surface was a storm ready to break loose. The room turned quiet, not because she demanded silence, but because the moment spoke for itself. Trump didn't even turn at first. He assumed it was just another junior rep arriving late, until she took her seat and looked directly at him. "Mr. Trump," she said, her voice cutting through the quiet like a blade, "before you start deflecting, lying, or playing the victim, let me remind you that the American people didn't elect you to play the martyr." Murmurs began. Some chuckled, others froze. Trump raised an eyebrow, smirked, then leaned into his mic. "Excuse me, I wasn't talking to you." That was it. The match hit gasoline. Jasmine didn't blink. She leaned forward and replied, "And that's been your entire problem. You think you don't have to listen to women who hold power." The room went dead silent. One of Trump's lawyers stood up to object, but the chair motioned him to sit down. "Let her speak," said the chair. Crockett continued, "I've watched you lie. I've watched you divide. I've watched you act like the law doesn't apply to you. But I'm here to tell you, it does. And so do I." Trump leaned forward. His face shifted from smirk to irritation. "You're grandstanding," he muttered into the mic. "You're trying to go viral." Crockett didn't move. Her next words were deliberate. "The only thing going viral today is your meltdown, sir. And it starts now." The tension in the room was electric. Two security guards near the back began walking slowly toward Crockett's seat, not aggressively, but ready. Trump motioned to one of them and whispered something. And then it happened. Crockett stood up. She turned directly toward Trump and said, "You're done." The gallery gasped. Reporters scrambled for their phones. Trump stood, too, but before he could speak, the chair called for order. "We're suspending the hearing," the chair announced, banging the gavel. "Now." Official feeds tried to cut away, but too late. The moment had already been clipped, screen-recorded, posted, and reshared by millions. "You're done" was trending on X within minutes. Hashtags like Crockett vs. Trump and "She Said It" exploded. Some called it disrespectful. Others called it brave. But no one could deny it. Jasmine Crockett had just flipped the script, live, on camera, with the whole world watching. As the gavel slammed down, signaling a recess, the chaos didn't stop. Trump was still standing, his mouth slightly open, as if trying to find the right insult, but coming up empty. Crockett didn't flinch. She stood firm, eyes locked on him like a soldier staring down a tank. Even without a microphone, her voice cut through the courtroom. "You think this country owes you something," she said, stepping forward. "You think you can break the law, dodge accountability, and still act like a king? You don't run this room. You don't run this country. We do." For the first time in the hearing, Trump looked rattled. His shoulders stiffened. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. Around him, even his allies began to look uneasy. Aides whispered. Legal staff scribbled notes. The room felt like it was slipping out of his control. Trump finally leaned into his microphone and muttered something inaudible, then louder. "You've got a mouth on you. Remind me, who elected you again?" That was his first mistake. Crockett let out a short laugh, then stepped even closer to the desk. "Oh, I was elected by the people who are tired of you, tired of your hate, tired of your fear tactics, and most of all, tired of your lies." She didn't sit down, she didn't blink, and she didn't stop. "The difference between us? I speak truth, and you spin fiction. I serve the people, and you serve yourself." Her voice rose with each word, not yelling, but commanding. In the gallery, you could hear whispers turning to murmurs, reporters texting furiously, flashes of cameras now filled the back row. One of Trump's legal team leaned over and urgently whispered, "Sir, we should go." But Trump didn't move. He was trapped, visibly struggling to take back control. His next words were sharp. "You're a nobody, Crockett." Just another loud mouth looking for a spotlight. And then the knockout line came. Crockett leaned in slightly, lowered her voice, and said, "No, Mr. Trump, I'm the mirror, and you just don't like your own reflection." The silence was surgical, like the whole room had been sliced open and was now bleeding shock. For years, Trump had walked into rooms like this and bent them to his will. He talked over, he bulldozed, he owned the moment. But not today. Today, someone finally stood taller. Crockett didn't need a gavel. She didn't need an army. Her voice, clear, passionate, and unshaken, did all the work. Two guards now approached Trump, this time gently, not for security, but as a signal. Time to leave. He didn't argue. He picked up his folder, gave a weak smile to the cameras, and walked out. The clip was everywhere within minutes. TikTok edits, YouTube shorts, Twitter reels. Jasmine Crockett ethers, Trump live. She just ended his whole career. Trump checked in Congress for the first time ever. Conservative commentators rushed to spin it. Liberal outlets hailed her as a hero. And Trump's campaign? Silent for nearly 24 hours, which in Trump time is an eternity. The hearing room emptied slowly, like a theater after a shocking final act. Security guided Donald Trump down the hall, cameras flashing, reporters shouting. But he said nothing. His silence was louder than anything he could have said. Behind him, Jasmine Crockett remained. Calm, composed, unbothered. She sat back down, pulled out her notepad, and began reading over her next line of questioning, as if nothing had happened. But something had. Within 10 minutes, clips of the confrontation dominated every platform. TikTok, Trump's face when Crockett said "you're done." Twitter, X, Congresswoman just put Trump in his place. Live, YouTube Shorts, she made Trump walk out. Hashtags exploded. "You're done Trump," Jaws Crockett clash, live hearing smackdown. The moment wasn't just a viral clip, it became a cultural symbol. Memes, commentary, fan edits with music behind Crockett's words, even celebrities posted about it. One post read, "Jasmine Crockett just became a national treasure. We needed this energy years ago." That evening, cable news was a battlefield. CNN aired the clip 14 times in 1 hour. MSNBC called it a masterclass in speaking truth to power. Fox News called it an embarrassing breakdown of decorum and accused Crockett of performative politics. Meanwhile, the White House, quiet, strategic silence. Reporters shouted questions during press briefings. Does the president support Jasmine Crockett's comments? The answer: we respect all members of Congress and their right to speak truthfully. Translation: they're not denying a word of it. According to unnamed sources, Trump was furious behind closed doors. One insider said he didn't expect to be challenged like that, especially not on live television. She got under his skin. Another source claimed his team immediately started crafting a response video to post on Truth Social. But hours passed, then a full day. Still, nothing. That silence sent a message louder than any tweet. Late that night, Crockett finally posted, "Tired of the noise, tired of the lies, tired of being told to wait your turn. I said what I said, and yes, he's done." 2.4 million views in 3 hours. Her followers skyrocketed. Hashtag campaigns began. Shirts printed overnight with "You're done" in bold yellow letters. Political analysts now debated not if Trump lost control, but when, and many pointed to this moment. One commentator said, he walked into Congress thinking he owned the room. But Crockett reminded him, this room belongs to the people now. Think tanks published instant breakdowns of Crockett's rhetorical style. News shows booked her for prime-time interviews. Even political rivals admitted off-record. That was one of the cleanest takedowns we've seen in years. Crockett, once seen as just another voice on the Hill, was now a national icon. Not for yelling, not for chaos, but for saying the one thing millions had been screaming silently for years. Enough. The power dynamic had shifted, and for the first time in a long time, Trump wasn't the one setting the tone. The storm had passed, but its impact was just beginning to show. The hearing became more than a political clash. It became a turning point, not just for Jasmine Crockett, not just for Donald Trump, but for every American watching the system shift right before their eyes. For years, Trump had walked into rooms like this with one thing on his side: fear. People feared what he might tweet, feared being mocked, feared the backlash. But this time, Crockett didn't flinch. And that one act of defiance broke the illusion. In every great political transformation, there's always a moment when the crowd finally sees the emperor has no clothes. For many, this was it. Jasmine didn't just make a statement. She rewrote the narrative. No teleprompter, no rehearsed performance. Just a woman fed up with injustice and speaking from the gut. Her courage reminded young activists that the halls of Congress weren't just for the polished and the privileged, they were for fighters, too. Her inbox flooded with messages. "You spoke for all of us. Thank you for standing up. I finally felt seen." Polls shift, headlines change. Within 48 hours, national opinion polls saw a measurable shift. 57% of independents said Crockett came across as authentic and brave. Trump's approval among suburban moderates dropped 6 points. More importantly, this moment galvanized a base. Young voters, black voters, women voters, all started sharing the clip, not just for entertainment, but as a symbol of what leadership could be. In an age of scripted sound bites, Crockett's raw energy was refreshing. What happens next? Will there be backlash? Probably. Will critics call it grandstanding? Absolutely. But that's not the point. What Crockett proved in that hearing wasn't that she had all the answers, but that she wasn't afraid to ask the hard questions. She faced power and didn't blink. And in doing so, she reminded America that true leadership isn't about being loud. It's about being fearless. Whether you support her or not, you can't deny one thing. The moment she said, "You're done," she changed the game.
This isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new conversation. A conversation about accountability, authenticity, and what it really means to serve the people. So we ask you, do you think this was a heroic stand or political theater? Did Crockett cross a line or finally draw one? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you believe voices like hers deserve to be heard, like this video, share it with your friends, and make sure you subscribe for more real stories the mainstream won't always show you, because sometimes one voice really can change everything.